that you put an A here. Because unfortunately it wasn't put into the diagram. Okay? Yes, ma'am. I don't think I have a spare one out. I had like a 2 dozen from the other day. Oh, here. You can use Matthew's. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Sharing. So when we have one where we're looking at what are those things called? The proof like this. A lot of times when you have this style, and I kind of alluded to this kind of a trick for you guys yesterday, is that what you want to do is that you want to see what you're given. And then you want to start to think about moving backwards, okay? Moving backwards. A lot of times if you start moving backwards, you're going to be able to figure out what you have to show to get there. And that's kind of a good trick to use with these. So you know that you've got your parallels. You know you have your parallels. It's given to you here and here, and here, and here, okay? It wants you to figure out some way to show that 7 and 4 are congruent to one another. So what I want to do is I'm just going to take a second. That's not going to go away. There it goes. And mark that I want to get to that. Well, I can't say any kind of angle pair relationship between the 7 and 4 at all, because they're not on the same transversal. You have to be on the same transversal to say something about one of those angle pairs. So when I look at this, I see that I have 7 and 4 different lines, but I could get from 4 back to 7. So if I look at the line that 4 is on, 4 is on the line of, was it CB? The transversal CB. So what angle is 4 congruent to? Because the lines are parallel. 5. 4 is congruent to 5 in this, on this side here, because we're on this transversal. Okay, we're on that transversal. So if I'm on that transversal, 4 and 5 would be the same. Now look at the other transversal, going this way. 5 is congruent to 7. Why? Which angle pair are they? They're corresponding. Very good. They're corresponding. They're in the same spot, same side of the line. So what I'm saying here is that what we're going to do is work with it in terms of going backwards to know where you have to head. AB is parallel EC. BC parallel EF. Those are both given to you. Now, remember, there are many, many, many different ways to write these things out. You don't have to be set in stone to do it the exact same way that I do. Some people see it differently. Some people write it out just a little bit differently. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So before you start frantically erasing what you have, see what we have and see what I come up with and see how close yours might be very similar to it. You might find out that yours is right, you just might have put something in a different step, and that's okay. Okay. So we have that, and if I'm working backwards, so that means I'm going to start with 7 and 5. What do I know about 7 and 5? Well, they're congruent because what angle pair? Corresponding. So draw the symbol. Parallel lines cut by a transversal, corresponding angles, congruent. Okay, that took care of that one. I then switched to work my way down. According to my diagram, 5 and 4 are congruent. Those two are congruent because they have alternate interior angles. Parallel lines cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles. Congruent. And you're basically done. 7 is 5, 5 is 4. 7 is 4, Now the reason that I have it set up that I have it not transversal, it's transitive. Now, some people wrote it very similarly. If let's say you wrote 5 is 7, 5 is 4, 7 is 4. That would be substitution. Some people had 7 is 5, 4 is 5. Then you can use substitution again. Just the way that I wrote it out wound up being on that diagonal like we keep talking about. That's why it came up like that. Okay? That's why it showed up like that. Hi, Truna! It's good fun. You gotta like it when a plane comes
I
together.
want them to win. I'm a White Sox fan, but I'm playing Cubs.
You have no idea. Just the fact that they're in there.
Yeah, you
They don't. They don't. And it's funny that I'm watching my kids sit on the couch, watching my children watching them in the World Series. Really, you don't know what it's like.
I see their parents go crazy.
I know, that's what mom, dad are going,
Yeah.
you don't get it.
I don't know
Yeah, I forgot all about it.
Okay, so I know I probably will get marked wrong, but I already erased it. But I already know I'll probably get marked wrong. I'm seeing the stuff in my head that I already know that these two are corresponding. So I already know that these two are, because I already know these two are, but I'm not writing it down. I know, but it's just like, but I'm like already seeing
Hey, guys,
it.
Miss Celia has a situation. We have a situation here. No, this is a very common thing that people come up with. And what Celia is saying is that she sees it. She knows that the end game here is going to work out. You're basically saying that you can do. You're doing that. You know what the answer is. It's 3.
Huh?
But I'm asking you not just to say.
I know.
I'm asking you to. What did you do? Oh, I did this. What did you do? Oh, I did this. What did you do? Oh, I did this. That's what I'm asking you to do. And that's, it's good that you can see where you have to go and you're marking it, but as you do that, please, and this, she's not the only one that says this stuff. I hear it quite often that you know how to do it, but I want you to describe how to do it, okay? Anybody can make a sandwich, but you need to explain how to make the sandwich. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just hoping that I don't do that like on the test.
Just slow you down. Slow you down. Slow your brain down. Just Mackie. Let me see.
You got stuff. She said something.
Yeah, because you can't jump across 2 lines. You can get
Yeah, you have to open it by hand.
Hey guys, a lot of these things, really, a lot of these angle-proof, guys, a lot of these angle-proof ones, when they have the parallel lines, they are going to be quite literally just look at the picture to figure out where you had to go. And it's a matter of knowing your angle pairs. On your progression sheet, probably should be in front of you, make sure. Thank you. Somebody will have to mention it. On your progression sheet, you should have the different pictures of the different angle pairs. I'm not taking this away from you guys, okay? Well, yeah, now I'm just going to throw it out for you, or I'm just going to rip it all out, really make you cry, okay? Let's look at the next one.
Oh, Mr. Murphy. This one, I'm pretty sure was a repeat.
This one?
Yeah.
I think we did one very similar, and then you'll notice that the one
Yeah, it
after
was
it
just a different
this.
picture. Yeah. I was
There-
looking at it, it's like,
There aren't too many of these out there, and what I was trying to get you guys to work with these. The one thing that I will say about parallel lines and angle ones is that they really are kind of the same setup each and every time. And I know how much you guys hate having to kind of think on your own through a lot of these things, but what's nice about these is that they really are very procedural. And you guys like the fact that you know you have to do something in a certain order, you're pretty good at replicating that scenario. These are the types of problems that this happens to. So now, this one and number 10 are very similar in the fact that you have to prove those lines were parallel. So yesterday we had that one, we had the one progression where it was showing, where we wrote out if they were, if the angles were congruent. Remember when we did this one? If angles were congruent, interior angles were congruent, exterior angles were congruent, and so on. If one of these 4 scenarios could occur, then we could say that the lines were parallel. These next 2 problems use that. Whenever you see that you have to show that the lines are parallel, you're going to use this. You have to come up with a way to get there. So same idea. We look at the picture. We look at the diagram, and we work our way backwards. I always think that working backwards with these types just to get started on it helps out tremendously. We've got G and H parallel. Those guys are parallel. Notice, I just put parallel lines or parallel markings, and I have these 2 angles right away. What do we know about 1 and 3 just by looking at it right now? Corresponding, right? Right? Yes. Making up words. They're congruent because they're corresponding. Now, look at the other given. What's the next given? 1 and 2 are congruent, which makes 2 and 3 congruent, right? What's the angle pair with 2 and 3? Are the lines parallel? Yeah. Now we have the argument solved. You win. Put it on paper. Make it valid. So you start. Oops. It's kind of annoying to have that right there, so. Given G is parallel to H. Now, do I have to write down my next given right away? No. If I do, is it okay? Yes. Now, the only reason that I'm not going to write down my given right away, my next one, is because notice a second ago when we marked the diagram, we saw that 1 and 3 were going to be congruent to one another. Might as well write that down real quick. 1 and 3 are congruent. Because parallel lines cut by a transversal, blah, 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 and they are corresponding angles are congruent, okay? The only reason I wrote that now was because I recognized it as soon as I made my markings. Now I'll put my next given in. 1 is congruent to 2. Okay? Can these 2 steps be flip-flopped? Absolutely. They can be in different order, it's fine. It's not a big deal, okay? Remember, we're still getting to the same way, all right? Now, I've seen some other people when they were trying to flip-flop statements that they can't do it because they got ahead of themselves. So in this case, you're fine. So now 1 is 3, 1 is 2, what do we know the difference is? What is it? Correct. Substitution, we can now say that angles 2 and 3 are the same. And the reason it's substitution, not transitive, is because what? They're right above one another. Ones are above each other. Okay? That was the trick. That was the trick. All right. Miss Ope, I saw you grabbing someone's progression. Did you get the one? I think we had one yesterday that was about this showing something parallel, and I think the other one was transitive versus substitution. Really straightforward. Oh, you didn't want a high five?
No, could angle, can you reason for angle 2 and angle 3 be alternates?
We don't know that yet. We can't say that. We can't say that because, and this is where people are getting ahead of themselves. We don't have anything on this line and this line being parallel. We don't know that. We can't say that they're congruent because they're not parallel yet. We can say that they're congruent to each other because of substitution, because now that those two angles are congruent to each other, and this is where we're trying to show it, we can say that, what was it, P and R?
Yes, the PNR.
Thank you. Now we can say P is parallel to R because they are alternate exterior angles that are congruent.
Wait.
So I would say alternate exterior angles are congruent, lines parallel. That's what you have to do. Okay, so you gotta get, you can't say that those angles are congruent because parallel lines cut by a transversal because you don't have parallel lines yet. You're putting the horse in front, or the carriage in front of the horse. Is that right? I think that's right. Because you put the carriage in front of the horse can't pull it. Horses don't push. Right. But if I'm in front of you, I'm pushing. Anyways, this is why I'm. Of course I did. Was that the happy dance? Did you get it right? Is that why? You can't jump to this and 2 and 3 being the same because you don't have parallel lines. You have to have the substitution, okay? Hey guys, this is, I didn't say that was right yesterday, did I? No, because you gotta have the parallel first. Hey guys, real fast, when you have stuff like this, let me put a clean one here. What happens here, and this is kind of like what you were getting at earlier. You kind of get, you can see where it's got to go, but you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. What happens here is, yes, we have the 2 parallel lines to start with are these 2, okay? Now, within those, we know that 1 and 3 have to be congruent to one another because P is a transversal. So that's why we said we were happy that 1 and 3 were congruent to one another. Okay? We were also happy that angle 2 was given to you being congruent to angle 1. The reason that all 3 of them are happy, it's a bad analogy, but you know. So we knew all of this happened. I can't say that these 2 are congruent to each other because of corresponding angles because of parallel lines, because nowhere here or here does it say that they are parallel yet. We're trying to show that they're parallel. We're doing the converse of that. So we have to say that they're congruent first, and then the reason the lines are parallel is because they, bless you, because they are alternate exterior angles that are congruent. Okay? So if I said that, I apologize, I might have been looking at a different diagram because I know the other one is like that in reverse. Okay. All right? Kind of looks like a crab face.
No.
Oh.
I don't.
Now I see.
His little legs staring at you.
You're weird.
No, it's weird.
Oh, is it June yet?
No, it's like not. We're starting to see their waterfall. I'm gonna call her.
Hey, did you guys see? Did we talk about the Best Buy Christmas commercial yesterday?
No.
Did you see the Best Buy Christmas commercial during the Cubs game last night? Or yesterday? There was a Best Buy Christmas commercial. They were ringing the bells and a Santa and a hat and saying stocking stuffers. I'm like, really? It's not even Halloween, people. Alright. Number 10 is eerily similar to 9. They're basically the same. They're basically the exact same problem. The only difference is that you're working with different angle pair relationships. That's it. Everything else works itself through the same way. You go through the same process to go.
Hey, what? She's looking for a pencil that she. I can't find it.
You've got parallel lines to start with.
Yeah.
This was N and M, so I do apologize if it didn't show up. Same deal. I know that I've got the two parallel lines. Again, line P is a transversal for those two. Hey, look, there's two angles on line P. Angle 1 and 3. What angle pair relationship do angles 1 and 3 have? They're what? Alternate interior. Very good. Those guys are alternate interior. So I'm going to do the same thing. Angle 1, congruent. Angle 3, parallel lines cut by a transversal. I mark it. Hey, convenient. Look at your next given. Dun, dun, dun.
Isn't this one like the one we just did? But look.
Have you not figured out yet that most proofs are just like the one we just did?
Oh, I was close. That corresponding.
Those two guys are congruent because they're given. Hey, what's the next step? 1 is 3, 1 is 2. 3 is 2, or 2 is 3, whichever you want to do. Either way you write it, it's still substitution.
Yeah.
Now, look at the relationship between 3 and 2. They're congruent by what angle pair are they? Alternate interior angles are congruent, therefore your lines are parallel. And that's where it goes. Yes, sir.
That's so annoying. They're like, we are visitors. We are their guests. I'm like, no, we're the guests for the person that owns this building. Do they own the building? No, they work there.
Again, you're doing the same thing. You don't.
They don't own the building.
Can't say
They get the paycheck, so they visitors too.
lines aren't parallel. They're trying to- So you kind of do the same thing. You have to do this whole
So that
substitution
irritates me.
first. Here. So you know, one
And then when
one
you
and
have
1 and 3 would be
CNAs already get added to that.
this.
So even if you're on the wrong curve with them, and when they find out that you're on that whatever, they still gonna be giving you attitude. So then what's gonna happen? They ain't listening to you.
Very, very
Quiet.
close.
So you know.
Okay? Men Sure. Whatever. Nobody cares anyway. Alright, last one. Then we'll talk a bit more about the tests and stuff so you guys get the idea of what to look for. Come on, guys. We don't have that much time. I want to try and get through a few more things with you because I have a couple algebra examples to show you that we have to look at, which we haven't done, but they're silly easy. It takes about 30 seconds. And then I want to explain about the proof stuff for the test. So we have given. You have everything. You've got your given. G and H are parallel. 1 and 4 are supplementary. And you want to prove P and R are parallel. So once again, we start with the idea. Got my two parallel lines here. And now right away I say I have one transversal. I need to get to the fact that P and R are going to be parallel to each other. Well, all I have with P and R being parallel to one another, there are also three angles to worry about. 2, 3, and 4. With these two being parallel, I've got 1, 2, and 3 to work with. So we start by looking at what we know. We know G parallel H. Okay. Are there any angles that are congruent to each other with that transversal of P? 1 and 3. Why? Alternate. I bet you if you look on your sheet, you might be able to figure that out though. Yeah, 1 and 3 are, or 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are congruent. Because parallel lines cut by a transversal. Alternate interior angles congruent. We start with that. Okay. The next thing says 1 and 4 are supplementary. So since 1 and 2 are the same, doesn't that mean I can put 2 in for 1 wherever I want? Yeah, that's it. So now I have 2 and 4 are supplementary. When you put something in for something else, you are very good. So 2 and 4 are supplementary. Does 2 and 4 have an angle pair relationship? It's not corresponding. Same side inside. What are those? Consecutive interior. Hey, what do we know about consecutive interior angles? They're supplementary, right? So if consecutive interior angles are supplementary, dun, 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 lines are parallel. It's right back here. Or if consecutive interior angles supplementary, lines are parallel. That's where it's coming from. It's one of the 4 angle pairs. We've just shown that one of the angle pairs occurred, which means the lines are parallel. That's how these work. Consecutive interior angles supplementary, lines parallel. Yes, ma'am.
On 10.
Yeah.
Like last one.
I thought I had yes, these would be interior. Because 3 and 2 are alternate interior, so since alternate interiors are congruent, lines are parallel. You have pictures of the angle pairs, right? Just don't forget to look at those. Yes. Yeah. So a lot of people, basically from this point is, we've got one example to show you guys for an algebra one, but the proof stuff's, we've gone through all of it. Oh yeah.
How you do that on the inside of your arm
Okay, so let me show you this real quick. We've done all of this stuff with there we go. We've done all this stuff with the algebra before where we were given lines were parallel, solve for x. What do you think changes if I say find the value of x that makes what do you think changes as far as the how you do the setups and stuff like that if I'm asking you to figure out what's the value of x that makes the lines parallel? What's different between that and when I say, hey, look, these two lines are parallel. This angle is x, and this angle is 120. What's the difference between those two problems, besides one has a little bit more algebra than the other? What is it? Just say it. Nobody's listening to you anyway. Careful. You're on the right path. When you have the difference here, solve for x, remember when we did this, we just marked the diagram and worked our way through. What did x have to equal here? 120. Because they matched up with the tick marks. Okay? Now, those lines are parallel, so you can do that. Well, I want these lines to be parallel, which means I want one of these two guys to match up. I do the same thing. Boom, 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 boom. Do they match up with a tick mark? If they match up with a tick mark, they have to be equal. All you're doing with these types that says find the value of x is the same thing. No, because that won't work for that. You're either going to match up with a tick mark, or both match up without tick marks, or have one of each. If they have one of each, they equal 180. If they share the same tick mark, or my examples where I don't use a tick mark for the other angle, they're going to be equal to each other. All you do is set them equal to each other. That's it. No. No algebra proofs on here tomorrow, okay? So you get 5, okay? You're still basically looking at the idea of finding your angle pair relationship by walking through the diagram, just like we have been, and just matching them up, okay? That's it. They're very simple algebra problems. Which leads me to what to expect tomorrow then. When we're doing the stuff in the test, and I'll show you another one of these here in a second. We had, let's see, 2.6, 2.7, 3.2, 3.3. That's really all we've been looking at. But if you think about it, this first chunk was all those segment and angle proofs. I don't know. In your notes, you probably have 20 to 30 different proofs that we've done, along with those 4 that were on that quiz that I threw away. Things like that. We have done just about every single segment, like segment addition, midpoint, things like that. We have done just about every single one of them that I could probably come up with that's going to be not overly complicated. All right? We spent 2-3 weeks going through those 20 to 30 angles and stuff like that. You guys have multiple packets, you have multiple examples. If you go back and you look, you've got all of these. That first little proof packet that I've already given back to you after realizing that nobody would do 10 problems over a weekend to learn about how to work with given statements.
Never got that.
Yeah, you got that one.
Oh, this one?
Mhm.
I didn't get that one that you gave, so.
That one I'm not using anything off of it,
Okay.
so that's why I didn't worry about it. I switched from the different type of angle ones. I didn't like the ones that are around there. I went with the parallel ones instead.
Okay.
That's why I didn't bother giving it to you, okay? Because it wasn't collected anyway. So you've got all of these. Hey, guess what? We've done all of them. Here's my suggestion. When you're looking at trying to figure out ways of studying and looking about proof, your best bet is to look at it because you're going to have fill in the blank stuff. I believe that there are, I think there's 3 fill in the blank and 2 on your own. Okay? And then there's algebra problems. The algebra ones are pretty quick. Don't forget your calculator problem. You're going to need it. Right? You're going to have a calculator if you want to do the algebra. Okay? These fill in the blank ones. The best way, since I don't really have any more to give you, is to really just go through what we have to start with. Have a sheet of paper covering it, and write down your reasons on that sheet of paper as you're going over them. And that way, if you write something down and you're like, oh, what did I do? That's not what Murphy did. Oh, that's what it is. It's easier just to reread some proofs. Because as you'll go to find out, just like that quiz we took, those 4 questions, one of them being the algebra problem, you guys should have noticed that they're all kind of the same. Okay? They're all kind of the same. Substitutions, additions, subtractions, things like that. Okay? With those, we did. We also had. Well, there's that quiz stuff that I think everybody should have that back on because I have none of them left over, so that's good. And then the last little bit with the proof. These are your parallel lines and angle pair. With those. With those, we just finished another 11 of them. And you notice that with those 11, they're all kind of the same. Okay? They're all kind of the same. I think we've done 20 of them total. It's just quite literally reread some of these things. Look at where we were. Look at what we did. One person asked me earlier today if they could have a new squares thing for the progression sheet because they wanted to rewrite some stuff. And I'm like, well, that's a good idea. Because what I was going to say is that one of the things that, because I'll let you guys use the progression sheet, one of the things that's a good idea to help you study from is that if you take the 15 minutes and even if you just rewrite your progressions on a clean sheet of paper, on the clean sheet, it's forcing you to do 2 things. Well, first of all, reread them. But second of all, oh man, where the heck did I write down the thing about midpoint? You might remember where you wrote it down because you just rewrote it the night before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It helps you to remember where you placed things. Sounds stupid, but it does help. I only have, I don't know, 6 or 7 of these left, but I can make a couple extra copies right between passing periods. So, fight! No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
Look, she's running up there. I'll run and make a couple extra here. Okay, so I'll have more.
Can I get one of those? Yeah.
Now,
Thank you.
guys, you have everything in front of you. I'm not taking these away from you. You have to be able to come up with a valid argument. It's all right there. Okay? What's that?
None.
I'm not gonna beat you. Why would you say?
Big.
Like, I think you're gonna beat me. Like, seriously?
In high school.
Oh, you think I'm that bad of a guy? Well, shut up.